Today's video, I will be discussing why, in my opinion, Ron DeSantis is a really good candidate for the Republican Party in the 2024 presidential election. Now, disclaimer would be that I'm not saying the other candidates, such as Trump or some other potential candidates, are bad. I'm just saying that Ron DeSantis, in my opinion, is very electable and someone that really could easily win a general election. Now, when you think of Ron DeSantis, what might you think of? Now, something you might think of is the Florida victory he had in 2018. The margin was just 0.4 points. Trump won the state by 3.3 points. So he isn't very electable. Case closed, right? Well, it's not that simple. First of all, the Democrats won this election, the popular vote, by a margin of 8 percentage points, which led to them doing very well nationwide and in the state of Florida, and Andrew Gillum was a very well-funded Democratic candidate who was leading the polls by about 3% leading into election day. He was not expected to lose, and similarly to Rick Scott and Bill Nelson's case, the Democrat was leading in this race but ended up losing by a tiny margin. And do remember that Florida has been trending more and more Republican. In 2012 or around that period, Florida was a state that was basically a pure toss-up. Now it is a state that Republicans, though going to win by very narrow margins, are still very much expected to win. And another reason why, in my opinion, Ron DeSantis is very electable is his current approval rating. His total favorability rating of very favorable and somewhat favorable is at 37%. The somewhat unfavorable and very unfavorable at 35%. Now, again, there are about more than 1 in 4 voters that are actually undecided or just don't know who Ron DeSantis is. That being said, this is still very good. Ron DeSantis is up by 2. Trump right now is down by about 12 in favorability rating, and Biden is down by about 14. So this is very good for a politician at this period in time. Some other people like MTG is down by like 25%. Kamala Harris is down by 15. So looking at the potential candidates for 2024 on both parties, Ron DeSantis seems to be the most favorable in Americans' eyes, with him being the only really favorable politician for many voters in 2024, among those who could be considered serious contenders. Now let's just look at the polls in the Republican primary. As you can see, DeSantis is pretty much obliterating in polls that do not have Donald Trump in them. Well, what about polls that do have Trump in them? Obviously, the former president is leading in all of those polls. That being said, this is still pretty close for someone that has as much influence as Donald Trump. Trump leads by 12, 14, 17, 18, 18, 18, 24, 21, and 39 points. Though being said, this poll is probably not very accurate. And right now, in some polls, DeSantis is actually within striking distance of the former president. And Trump may not run due to a lot of issues circulating around him. And Ron DeSantis, if Trump doesn't run, is clearly favored. He is up by 23, 30 points, 39 points, 39 points, 44 points, and around that margin. In fact, in one of the polls, DeSantis actually had a lead over Trump, but that's an outlier. I wouldn't consider that too heavily, but Ron DeSantis is still nonetheless a viable option for the Republican Party. And looking at him, I feel like that he is indeed a pretty electable candidate, and he has the elements to win a general election, such as the presidential election. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.